and appreciate all of our sponsors in helping making that possible. Now, to get your 2022 conference started, please welcome the ATSSA Chairman of the Board, Mr. Greg Driskell. Looking good, sir.
We can't hear you, Greg. You're on mute.
Oh. Boy, that's been the story of my life the last 2 years. How about yours? Welcome to the American Traffic Safety Services 2022 Expo. It's great to be here in person, isn't it? I heard John up here talking about that. You know, it's wonderful to finally see your smiling faces or your smiling eyes, whichever you're more comfortable with. Also, welcome to my home state of Florida. Here we are. We've got, there's three things you might know about Florida or you might not. One is kind of a gimme. We have the most golf courses in this state than any other state in the nation. Now, you've probably been on one or you're going to be on one before you leave. Second thing is something you probably don't know is that although we're known as a state of senior population, these artifacts have never been found in the state of Florida. Anybody want to guess? Dinosaur bones. Never found dinosaur bones. I guess we were underwater at the time. The third thing that you might want to know about Florida is we have the second longest coastline in the United States. Is there anyone here that is from the state with the longest coastline in the United States, and it's not California? Maine? Close. Alaska? Did I hear Alaska? Who's from Alaska? All right. What, one? I bet you're glad to be here. I have a special place in my heart for Alaska. I was there 3.5 years with the United States Air Force. I know for sure that you are appreciating this weather because right now it's probably, let's see, the Eielson Air Force Base is probably hitting around 20 below zero. And that's with no wind chill factor. So it's incredibly cold. Welcome down here, and I appreciate having you. That's probably one of the longest trips besides our international partners. And speaking of which, are there any other veterans out here? Raise your hands. Come on, raise your hands if you're a veteran. From one veteran to another, thank you for your service. Now, Florida is also known for what else? Our storms, right? I mean, if you've lived here for a minute, you've become a self-proclaimed meteorologist, right? So we watch, every hurricane season, we watch these storms and they sprawl off of Africa. And immediately we're watching these things and we're trying to make sure we're keeping watch for the big ones, for the air temperature, the water temperature, the high pressures, the low pressures, the air currents, all that. And all we want to know is where will it be and how big is it going to be? But every once in a while, when they all come together, it becomes this incredible, perfect storm. Now, the past 2 years, this industry, our nation, and this world has been in a heck of a storm. This COVID pandemic has caused fear, frustration, dissent, anger, separation, financial failure, and of course, the loss of loved ones. It's been a tough 2 years. As an industry, in 2020, most of us really did pretty good. Remember, they had the accelerated projects because we thought, okay, there's nobody driving on the road, so we'll be able to get more done, and it'll be safer out there, right? The latter we found out a little different, unfortunately. But we were able to get these projects done faster. We were one of the few industries in most states, we were one of the few industries that could continue to work. So we had the labor force, we had the materials, we had the equipment, everything was going. And so what we found was that for many, 2020 was actually more productive and more profitable than 2019. But then 2021 hit with its perfect storm. Remember the Great Texas Freeze that stopped all of our raw material production? We had all the COVID protocols, those things that were causing reduced our already lean labor force. Our ports were clogged, still somewhat are. Our transportation, our trucking was overwhelmed. We basically had little to no materials to work with. We had no transportation to get it to us. We had no parts for our equipment, and we didn't have any labor to install what we did have. Top it off, our funding ran out. Remember that time when we got to drive on the roads and it was because there was no cars out there? Guess what? When there's no cars, guess what else? There's nobody buying fuel, right? There's nobody buying fuel, there's no funding. And it created this little bubble, this gap of funding, and it came further and further over, and then all of a sudden it hit us in 2021. So that was a tough time because it was leaving a lot of agencies with little to no funding left in their budgets. So all of this came together in this perfect storm. But then in November 21, guess what happened? The sun came out, and it was cool because with the thanks to ATSSA's government group and the members that participated in the effort and so forth, we had the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, was approved by Congress and signed into law. This created, and I'm going to use the word, you ready? Unprecedented funding for our roadway industry. Approximately $348 billion over the next 5 years for roads and bridges. An incredible amount of money. Now, I know in today's world, we talk a lot about trillions, trillions. We're always talking in trillions, but let me put some perspective on this. There's a small portion, about 4.5% of that $348 billion. Where's Nate? Is he out there or is he back there? Nate, oh, there you are. Nate and his government crew helped to get $16.8 billion dedicated to the Highway Safety Improvement Fund. First of all, let's applaud that, please. $16.8 billion, a measly 4.5% of $348 billion, right? But let's put it in perspective. $16.8 billion can do 63 billion feet of 6-inch markings. It can do 2.5 billion feet of guardrail. It can do 107 million stop signs or 250,000 four-way intersections being signalized. This is a tremendous amount of money, and it's only 4.5% of what's being budgeted. Now, I'm normally an optimist. I see light at the end of any tunnel that I enter, but I'm also a realist. And being a Floridian, I think we're a little bit in the eye of the storm. We see the sunlight, the sky looks clear, but I think that we're headed for the back end of the storm. And the back end of the storm is you see, we have adequate money, but we don't have the materials, the transportation, the equipment, the labor in order to put it to good use. So how are we going to manage all this? Well, we're going to manage it in the same way that we have the last 2 years. We're going to manage it together. You may see up here, I have this marine grade rope, and we're going to have marines later. It's a little different marine. This is a marine grade rope. This is a 2-inch braided rope, and it's designed for hauling in thousands of pounds of fish, or even holding a ship into place. Now, on a trip to Ecuador, do we have anyone from Ecuador? That'll be a trick. Atilio, are you here? Okay, so on a trip to Ecuador, my host took me around the coastal cities, and what I found was there were these little remote fishing villages, and you'd be driving 60, 70 miles an hour down this road, and all of a sudden you're right in the middle of this village. Well, what does that create? That creates a nightmare for pedestrians, right? These cars are flying through there and so forth. So what they did, it's amazing because to me it's ingenious concept, ingenious. When you have funding is low, it's amazing how much creativity kicks in. So what they did was they took their fishing ropes, these 2-inch fishing ropes, and they would lay them across the road, and they would create these tremendous speed bumps. These things would last. I tell you, when you hit them, when you hit that 2-inch, you know it. I don't know if I can get FHWA to approve those in work zones, but I think they would work. It was just incredible what these things, and they would last for years and years, and I just, again, an ingenious use of resources. What makes that rope so strong? What makes it so durable? What makes it so effective? It can pull in thousands of pounds of fish, hold a ship into place, act as a speed bump for years. Well, its strength is here. Its strength is in its strands. thousands of strands that are skillfully braided together, creating a rope that's far stronger than any of its strands. ATSSA is like this rope. You know, ATSSA, we're the strands, you and I. Whether you're, and it doesn't matter what size or what side of the industry you're in, if you're a multinational supplier or if you're a mom and pop contractor, if you're a federal agency or a township, all coming together, industry and agency, skillfully braided together through ATSSA. I've learned over the last 30 years, nearly 30 years, that as a member of ATSSA, I'm stronger. I'm stronger as an individual. I'm stronger as an individual company. And in that, also ATSSA is stronger because I'm a member. So regardless of your industry size, regardless of your industry focus, together we are strong and we can weather the storms that are here and the storms that are ahead of us. And together we can secure some very important things. Right now we need to secure and improve our supply chains. I don't think anybody will argue with that. Our labor force, our technology, and our road safety. Now before I close, I want to talk about one more storm, and that storm is one that we had in 2020, January 2020. Started in January 2020. Guess what? I became chairman. That's when the storm started. Something's wrong with that. So we had a new chair. That was me. We had a new board. And for the first time in 22 years, this organization had a new CEO. Now, if that wasn't going to be a struggle enough, as I looked as my chairmanship, I knew this was coming, and I was thinking, you know, it's going to be an interesting year. But then, of course, the pandemic hit of epic proportions, unprecedented proportions. Let's go with that. But it put confusion and uncertainty into our industry and into our world. There were tough questions to be asked, and there were tough decisions to be made. And I'll give you an example. Our CEO's first day, the story is our CEO's, our new president, Stacy's first day, he goes into the office, he introduces himself, and he has to send everybody home because they had to work from home. I mean, I can't imagine coming on board and doing this. You know, when there are storms like this, a strong rope does no good if it doesn't have something strong and immovable to fasten to. As a chairman, I have the honor and the privilege to provide an award to recognize the individual that has had the greatest impact on my service as a chairman. Literally hundreds would be worthy of such an award. We can go all the way back. Wayne Tyson, who got me into the pavement marking industry. There's Al Brode, who financed my business 25 years ago. There's Steve Mitchell, who got me into the local Florida ATSSA leadership. And then there's Tim Cox, who literally in an elevator speech convinced me to join the leadership of the foundation. There's Juan Arvizu and Jeff Johnson, who really have co-led me during this time, this difficult time. And of course, the entire ATSSA staff. Thank you all for all that you've done. But I believe the recipient of this award has been the anchor to our rope. And especially over the last 2 years, he's certainly been an anchor for me. And he's a man, I say, of great values and a man of great value to this industry. He's humble enough to ask the tough questions, usually with no clear answers. And he's confident enough to make the tough decisions, even at full risk and uncertainty. I'd like for you to join me in celebrating ATSSA's CEO, Stacy Teschner, and he did not know this, as the winner of the Special Chairman's Award. Come on up. Thank you. You're welcome. You know, we've kept this a secret. Staff's been great. So even last night when we were finally doing our rehearsal, I said, Stacy was standing there, and I asked the director. I said, you are going to have the recipient standing there next to Stacy, right? And he's like, I knew I caught him a little bit. He's like, oh yeah, we are. So congratulations. Thank you so much. And would you like to say a word or two?
Well, you'll hear plenty from me probably later, but all I really want to say is thank you. I could not have done this. I mean, when I interviewed with the team that when I was hired, this is not what they told me what the first year or two were going to be like. So it definitely has been a challenge, but a fun challenge. And the whole reason this is possible is because of you and because of the ATSSA team and the ATSSA board. So I really appreciate this. And thank you.
That's great. You know, you mentioned about not expecting this. I remember, is Tom McSwain out there? Where's Tom? Tom, where are you? I know you're there. Oh my gosh. Well, Tom McSwain walked me when they put me as chair-elect, he took me on this lovely walk through the trade show. And he's like, Greg, look, just relax, enjoy this. This is a great time, you're going to be chairman and enjoy the suite, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, yeah, you didn't tell me about this, though, did he?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I can't leave the stage without thanking my wife, because she has been right there with me this whole time. And let me tell you, this has been kind of crazy. So thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I love you.
And good. Don't leave the stage. Okay. I've got someone else that's going to come up. Today is all about celebrating what we've been able to do the last couple years and our race for relevance and making sure we do this. But we can't let you leave, because who has had a tougher chairmanship at ATSSA than Greg Driskell? Because he took over, didn't get to have his first few board meetings in person, and then we quickly learned how to do those via Zoom. Didn't get to have a mid-year in person. Didn't get to have any fly-ins in person. We did finally get to have one mid-year in person in kind of a hybrid format. But this is really, after 2 years, the reward. Greg, finally we get to have a meeting in person.
Yes, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see
so
everybody.
Jeff Johnson, who will be chair next, we have a small token here to say thank you very much. We'll pause for a quick.
Thank you. Oh, there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been an honor serving you as your chairman, and I am looking forward to handing that gavel over. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I'm looking forward to having you take it.
Congratulations, Greg. The award is well-deserved, and I certainly enjoy working with you and look forward to our continued work as we continue to move the association in such a positive direction.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And one other thing, Greg, we gave you this, but we also know that you're back to traveling again, so we've also bought you a new set of luggage Debbie had told us what kind of luggage you would like. Maybe you told her, I don't know. But we're having it shipped to your house. We would have had it here, but there's been a little backup in the shipping and supply chain.
So what you're really telling me is pack my bags and get the hell out.
Well, your words, not mine. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Now, let's have John come back out, and you and I can talk maybe for a couple minutes. All right?